In 1983, a 33-year-old army captain stood before a crowd in one of the world's poorest countries and made an extraordinary promise that he would transform his nation without borrowing a single dollar from the West, without bowing to any foreign power, and without forgetting the poorest of the poor. His name was Thomas Sankara. Most of the world has never heard of him, but in Africa, he is remembered as the continent's greatest revolutionary, a man who in just 4 years achieved what most governments cannot achieve in 40. So this is his story. Thomas Sankara was born in 1949 in Upper Volta, a landlocked Western African nation so poor it was considered one of the most hopeless countries on earth. A former French colony, it had gained independence in 1960, but independence on paper meant very little. The economy was still controlled by foreign interests, the government was corrupt, and ordinary citizens remained trapped in poverty. Shankara joined the military not out of love for power, but because he saw it as the only path to real change. He was brilliant, disciplined, and unlike most officers, he refused privileges. He rode a bicycle to work, he stood in a line with ordinary soldiers for food. From the very beginning, he led by example rather by authority. Sankara's most defining leadership quality was radical humility, something scholars call leadership. When he came to power in 1983, his first acts were symbolic but deeply powerful. He sold off the government's fleet of Mercedes cars and replaced them with the cheapest car available, the Renault 5. He cut his own salary to just $450 a month. He declared his only assets publicly: a car, two guitars, a refrigerator, and a broken freezer. This wasn't performance. He genuinely believed that a leader who lives lavishly while his people starve has already failed. In a continent plagued by corrupt leaders who looted national treasuries, Sankara's lifestyle was revolutionary in itself. He famously said that a soldier without political and ideological training is just a criminal with a gun, signaling that leadership to him meant moral responsibility above everything else. Moving forward, we see that Sankara didn't just talk about change, he mobilized an entire nation to build it with their own hands. He renamed Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright people, instantly giving citizens a new identity and sense of pride. He then launched one of the most ambitious grassroots development programs in African history. He organized ordinary citizens to build schools, health clinics, and railways, not by hiring foreign contractors, but by mobilizing the Burkinabe people themselves. Thousands of villages got infrastructure for the first time. Most remarkably, in just 1 week in 1984, his government vaccinated 2.5 million children against meningitis, yellow fever, and measles, a logistical feat that international health organizations said was nearly impossible without massive foreign aid. Sankara did it without either. Look achievement was his regular stance on gender equality and extraordinary for 1980s Africa. He appointed women to senior government positions at a time when no African leader was doing so. He banned female genital mutilation and forced marriage. He encouraged men to go to market and do household tasks, publicly challenging the idea that domestic life was in women hold the other half of the sky, and he meant it structurally, not just rhetorically. He understood that no nation can develop when half its population is systematically excluded. In leadership terms, this reflects inclusive leadership.
The understanding that sustainable progress requires bringing everyone to the table. In just 4 years, Sankara's government achieved the following. Literacy rates rose significantly through the aggressive national campaigns. Food production increased enough that Burkina Faso moved towards self-sufficiency for the first time in its history. 10 million trees were planted to combat desertification decades before climate change became a global conversation. Infant mortality dropped sharply, and all of this was done while reducing the national debt and reducing loans from IMF and World Bank. He was also one of the first world leaders to publicly warn about AIDS epidemic in Africa at a time when both governments were pretending things didn't happen. However, Sankara's leadership was not without contradiction. His government suppressed political opposition and independent trade unions. He could be authoritarian in his method, believing the revolution required unity among dissent. Some of his economic policies, while idealistic, were difficult to sustain long term. This raises same fundamental question: when does passionate conviction become dangerous inflexibility? Sankara believed he was right, and on many issues history has proven him so. But his unwillingness to tolerate organized opposition created vulnerabilities that ultimately cost him everything. On October 15, 1987, Thomas Sankara was assassinated in a coup led by his closest friend, widely believed to have been supported by French intelligence and neighboring government threatened by Sankara's growing influence. He was 37 years old. Pomper immediately reversed nearly every policy Sankara had built. Trees stopped being planted, foreign loans returned, Mercedes came back. Today, Sankara is experiencing a global renaissance. Young African wear his face on t-shirt, his speeches circulate on social media, monuments have erected in his honor. He represents something rare, a leader who genuinely meant every word he said. Thomas Sankara lived and died by a simple but radical idea that poor people deserve dignified leadership, not just promises. He showed that leadership is not about resources and recognition. It is about conviction, consistency, and courage to act on your values even when the world pushes back. In a world full of leaders who talk about change, Thomas Sankara remains a haunting reminder of what happens when somebody actually means it. Thank you.